Alright, a new watch. Invicta Pro Diver might be one of the most popular Invicta models, if not the most popular ever, from what I see. Now, I'm not actually a huge fan of Invicta, I never was, but I was never against them either. So my wife bought and gave me the Invicta Pro Diver, this one right here, and I liked it. It's a good watch. Now, of course, it's, as they say, inspired by the Rolex Submariner, which obviously is a iconic watch, but I don't care really. I'm not a huge fan of Rolex, but I do like the diver design. Now there are many others. They're very cool. There's Omega, Seiko. They have their own designs. Their diver watches slightly different, so it kind of, I guess, grew into its own category of watches, not just Rolex, but all sorts of different manufacturers put their own spin on the formula. Now, Invicta, on the other hand, there's a lot of controversy with Invictas. Some people really hate them because they copy Rolex almost exactly. They do weird things with their pricing. Some say that only douchebags wear Invictas. Honestly, I don't care about any of that. What I care about is quality, feel, and the look of the watch. I want to like it. I want to enjoy wearing it myself. It's really for me. So I like the idea of a Pro Diver. We kind of picked it together. I looked at other models. Then I looked at some Pro Divers from Invicta. Settled on this one, blue and two-tone Pro Diver. However, a couple of weeks later, I was shopping at Sam's Club, and just walking by the jewelry display, I noticed they also have a Pro Diver there, and it's this one. And I was kind of curious about the color because it's a little bit less flashy. It's just silver or stainless steel and black dial and bezel watch, and I was also curious about that. So I started looking at it, and I started noticing that they look different. Like many things are different. So I had to do some research. I went and started checking online, just looking up different Pro Diver models, and kind of learned a couple of interesting things. So first of all, there are seem to be many different models of Pro Diver, not just different colors, but actual models of the same watch. At least there's not much differentiating naming or anything like that, or design factors that are obvious from the first sight. There are of course things like Grand Diver. There's some other Russian Diver, other variations of diver watches from Invicta. You definitely know that those are different watches. But then you look at Pro Diver, and at first they all look the same, but you start looking closer, you start noticing some differences. So what did I learn first? That these two are actually completely different models, and there are so many differences. They look very similar from the first glance. They really do. But if you start looking closely, you're going to start noticing some more differences. This is Invicta Pro Diver model. Let me see, focus, come on man. 8928 OB. This one we bought from Amazon. There are like a dozen different color variations of this. I picked this one, and nice watch. Now this, on the other hand, will have what Sam's Club sells. Turns out this is a completely different model. It's 30091, also Pro Diver, but that's all I was able to find at first, just a different model number. I had to start digging. What's so different about them? It was basically just curious to know which one came out first, like which one was the newer model. Maybe one was, outdated, and maybe that's why Amazon was selling them. Or maybe the other one was, maybe this one was the outdated one. Maybe that's why Sam's Club had them, because at Sam's Club it's supposed to have better pricing and all. I did a lot of research, forums, on different websites, YouTube videos, just trying to figure out what is the deal. I can't find any information on when a certain model was released or anything like that. The one thing I noticed that is a little bit odd, that is really hard to find, was 30091 Pro Diver. Sam's Club has them. They also have them in similar this color variation, and you can find them on eBay, of course, but Amazon doesn't have it. They have listings for them, but they're all currently unavailable. And many other websites that list them, they say out of stock or sold out or currently unavailable, or things like that. So I'm not sure. I have a feeling that this is actually a newer model, just based on the fact that there are actually some watch collectors that collect Invictas, and new Invicta models sell out quickly. For example, the one that just came out recently is a Pro Diver 1953. It's kind of a retro style diver watch, also a Rolex homage, as they say, and it's sold out everywhere. You just can't find it. And also this is a little bit more expensive. So I bought it at Sam's Club for $99. Of course, the tag will claim $199. That's the typical Invicta. Their manufacturer's suggested retail price is always inflated, but at least it's not as inflated as some of the, say their own website claims that this Pro Diver is worth like over $400, but they sell it for like $98. We actually bought this on Amazon for about $58. Now it's not the regular price for it. Looks like most of the different variations of 8928 OB go for about $87, $89, something like that on Amazon. Sometimes there are sales that you can find them for about $58 to maybe $64, maybe $66. For example, I saw stainless steel black dial and gold accents for $66 today. All the other models are $87.99. So that some of them go on sale. That's when we saw that this guy was on sale, and we ordered it. It was a really good price. Got it in here. I used it for a couple of weeks. I liked it. Now today, when I saw a new watch and I realized it was different, I had to pick it up to compare them and see if I like it better, because I actually started to get kind of curious about this color combination here. I think blue and purplish on the inside with gold is a really nice combination, but maybe a little bit too flashy for me. So what is actually different about these two models? Some of the first things that I started noticing. Well, first of all, say the bezel. If we look closely, like we have a 10-second or maybe minute marker over here. There is none here. The rest looks almost the same, but you notice on the black watch there are dots all around, and there's no dots here. So just a minor redesign there. Now inside the watch, I see that the dial is slightly different. I apologize for the focusing issues. I'm recording on the cell phone, and sometimes it's having a hard time. The hands are actually the same, but if you can see that hour markers large here, and big round pieces, and on this one they're smaller. 12 o'clock marker is sharper. On the black one, it's kind of cut off at the end. So that's kind of the big difference that stands out right away. The date also on the 8928 OB, the date window is either larger. It looks like it's actually a little bit larger physically. Yeah. So the date is a little bit larger. I think that's about it for the dial. Everything else looks pretty much the same. So pretty subtle difference, but the difference is there. Now with the larger markers, the lume is actually, some people might find it's important. So the lume is actually a little bit better on this watch. I'm gonna try to put a little clip here in the dark. Apologize for the quality of it, but as you can see, it's visible a little bit more on the 30091 model. One of the things that is not as obvious at first, but it's actually there. This watch is actually slightly larger. This is a 42 millimeter case versus 40 millimeter here. So might be a little bit hard to tell side by side, but this is a slightly larger watch. And at the same time, the bracelet is also a little bit wider by a couple millimeters. Going to bracelet, it's a completely different bracelet design. I'm not a watch snob, I don't know the actual name of different styles of bracelets, but this is a little bit more flexible. It feels lighter. Now some people might like it, some might not. I actually haven't tried to wear it for extended period of time yet, so I'm not sure yet if it's gonna work better for me or not, but I do like the look, just from the look of it. So far, I just have a feeling that this is actually a newer model, because it looks like they have improved on some of the things while keeping it very similar. Next, the crown. The crowns are very, very similar. They both have to be unscrewed to be able to make any adjustments. The one thing I noticed, it's a little bit harder to unscrew and screw a crown on the 8928 OB, especially getting it back in there, just kind of getting in the groove. I'm having a little bit of hard time with that. So here's a perfect demonstration. I just really have to try several times until I get it to catch in the grooves and stay. There it goes. Once it's there, it's good. Now 30091, it feels a little bit smoother, and then screwing it back is also easier and smoother. Now the feel of the crown when you make adjustments is actually a little bit different. So it's hard to explain. It's very subtle, but somehow on this model it feels maybe tighter and smoother when you just move your hands around. This one here almost feels like, sometimes it almost like skips a little bit, or there's some kind of slight resistance. And also with the date, when you scroll, it changes one day at a time, and it goes a little bit slower, versus here when you adjust your date, it just kind of scrolls through them much quicker and easier to adjust. And there's a good difference why they feel different. These two watches actually use different movement. They're both just state that they have a Japanese movement. They usually don't specify which one. And from a little bit of research, it's easy to find what they are. So the movement with the yellow rotor, and that's what keeps your watch winding up as you wear them, an automatic watch, of course. So this is a Seiko movement. Very popular. People like them. They say they're reliable. They're fairly accurate. They're good movements. Now, 30091 actually comes with a different looking movement, and this is Mayota, if I'm saying it right. I'm not familiar, so I don't know, but it's also Japanese movement. There are slight differences between them. I think the biggest one being that the Seiko movement actually winds the watch up in both directions. This one only goes in one direction. The other direction, when it spins, it's just kind of loose. Now, I don't actually feel the difference, in my hands. But if you think about it, it's kind of logical to assume that the one that goes to both directions is probably gonna do a little bit better job on whiting your watch. However, by reading some forum posts, it seems like a lot of people actually claim that a single rotation, or one direction rotation automatic movement somehow actually does better job at keeping your watch wind up. So I don't know, I haven't had enough time with them to test it. And to be honest, I don't really care at the end of the day who makes the movement, as long as it runs through the day and it doesn't die by the next day, it should be fine. And that's what this watch have been for me. And I'm gonna test my new one, and hopefully it does the same. And I think the last point here, I guess maybe just what's similar or the same with them. So obviously pretty similar design, besides the couple of things on the dial and the bezel that I mentioned. The hands are exactly the same, and I do like the second hand with the Invicta logo in the back. Actually, you know what, I take that back. They're not exactly the same. They're close, but not exactly the same. So if we look here, at the very end of the second hand, at the very tip, there's a little bit more of a second hand still extending after the little circle. Now, if we look at the new one I got here, it's similar, but the tip at the end is a little bit shorter. Very subtle difference, but since we're comparing them, figured I'll mention it's there. Now, what's the same? The Invicta logo. So sorry about the focusing. Trying to keep it focused in one area, but it just keeps jumping off. So both of them have an Invicta engraved. And the size and the quality of this engraving is the same. Both of them have a see-through window, and both of them have the same exact clasp. So I feel no difference in quality or feel of it. It does feel pretty cheap. Yeah, this one might be a little bit harder to snap on and off, but yeah. But that's, it might differ from watch to watch. So yeah, very similar with that. Also, the packaging is slightly different. So here's the box that the 30091 came in, and this is the box that the 8928 OB came in. Now I have another one here, and I'll explain in a minute why I do that. I do have another one. There's not much of a difference in boxes, but they are slightly different. The newer box has a little bit richer, I guess I can say, yellow color. It's slightly darker and brighter, and larger Invicta logo, and also a couple of rubber bands there to hold a manual while there's nothing here. There's really the only differences with the box. They look pretty much the same from the outside, and it's a little bit bigger box, but I guess there's a slightly bigger watch, so that makes sense. In a way, it kind of makes me wonder, is it possible that they're fake Invictas sold on Amazon? Who knows? I mean, Invicta, some people would say Invicta is in some ways kind of a fake brand themselves, so to speak, I guess, just in the sense that they copy Rolex here, but there's so many others that do that. Let's see. So why do I have another one of the blue and gold watch here? So here's something I think that everyone should be aware of when looking at Invictas. The quality control. They're obviously really good watch for the price, really good value for the money. If you can get it between, say, $60 and $90 or $100 in this case, you're getting a really nice watch for this price. Plus, Invicta is not a unknown name. A lot of people like Invictus, a lot of people know Invictus, a lot of people hate Invictus, but pretty much everyone know the brand. So there's some brand recognition there. So here's what happened. I ordered the watch from Amazon, and here's the first one. This is the exact unit they came in. It looks the same, but if you look closely at the Invicta logo at the top of the dial there, you may notice that it's a little bit crooked, so it's not glued on straight. I have a major OCD when it gets to those type of things, so I'm like, I can deal with that. I had to order another one, and the second one that came in is fine. So it might be a little bit hard to tell, but if you see here, like see it, the tip of the logo and the tip of the triangle at the top, they pretty much meet in the center. So this looks good. But if we look at the first one I got, you see that those two tips, they're just slightly off. I think it's something that most people might not even notice. I did notice it though, and I can deal with that. But this is still a brand new unit, and you know, we're still trying to decide what to do with it. We might gift it to someone or return it. We can still return it. With that said, I think I will be returning this watch. We'll see which one is in a little bit better shape. I did wear this one for a couple of weeks, and it actually holds up great. Didn't accumulate any big scratches or anything. There's some very, very minor scratches on the bracelet. This may be the one we keep and give somebody, a family member, maybe return that. We'll decide. But I'm definitely going to keep the new black one here. Now after seeing both in person and comparing them side by side, I actually kind of like the design of the black watch a little bit better myself, just not as flashy. And yeah, with some of those differences, a slightly bigger watch, and I think a little bit more interesting bracelet here, I just think I like it better. So in conclusion, which one would I recommend to buy? I think both are still fine. They both have their benefits. Some people like a larger watch, and I think that's what I'm gonna prefer, and so I'm gonna stick with this one here. It's a little bit larger, and everything just feels kind of refreshed. I might be completely wrong about this. This might be actually an older model. I don't know, but it feels to me like this is probably the newer one, just because everything just feels slightly more sophisticated. Now, the movements are different, and you might need to do your own research on that and see why one might be better than the other for you. I don't care about that. You might want to get this one here just because it's actually a little bit smaller. So some people don't want a big watch. Now, it's not that this is a huge watch. The difference in size is pretty minor, and might even be hard to notice at first, but it's there. And of course, you can get this cheaper, and you can get it like right now. You can go on Amazon, order it, and have it at your house in a day or two. While this guy here, you might be able to find at Sam's Club. My store had one. You can buy it online at Sam's Club. They'll be happy to ship it to you. But if you're not a Sam's Club member, I don't even know where else you can get it right now, besides eBay, that you're gonna overpay on. So, seems like a little bit harder to find, and you're gonna pay just a little bit more. But if you can, if you have a chance to look at it, preferably look at both. I recommend that. I think it might make sense. Now that I'm holding both in my hand, it's weird, but the smaller watch actually feels a little bit heavier. Now, I might be wrong about that. They feel about the same. I think it might be the bracelet. This bracelet here doesn't feel quite as solid as this style bracelet, which is exactly the same as you would find on the Rolex. In fact, this watch is almost 99% identical to the Rolex Submariner. It's kind of funny. Some people will find it a plus, some people will hate it for that. I think I personally actually like the fact that this is just a little bit different. It's still very close, and it's definitely still a homage, in quotes. But while this one here is almost exactly, almost an exact copy, besides the logo and the print over there, and maybe secondhand. This one here has just a little bit more of its own design language, I think. Unless it's copying a different Rolex model that I'm just not familiar with. That's completely possible too. Homage, as they say. Or a copy, a ripoff, I don't know. Anyway, since I had both, I figured let's talk about them, let's compare. I personally tried to find something like that and had very hard time finding any kind of direct comparison. What's the difference between these two models here? So I hope it helps someone. Okay, so I used the new watch for about half a day, I guess, last evening, and half a day today. And so far, yeah, I had a good experience. It keeps the time well, accurately. I left it on the nightstand overnight. You know, it kept going in the morning. Still, you know, the time is accurate, and I have no complaints there. There are a couple of other small things that I noticed in this time that I figured I'll do a quick update and share those. So, because of the different movements, I noticed that there's some differences in sounds. So the watches actually do make some noises and sounds, nothing serious. First, we'll talk about the movements. So this one here, Mayota, it's a single direction. I noticed that it looks like it really spins only clockwise, and it spins well. So if I shake it, you know, you see it spinning pretty good, and you should be able to hear it actually making some noise. Kind of interesting. Yeah. So that was new to me. I never had a watch that makes actual, you know, mechanical noise while spinning, but that's, you know, automatic watch for you. Now the one with the Seiko movement acts a little bit differently. It actually doesn't spin as easily. So as you can see, if I'm shaking it, it just kind of turns one or two, you know, rotations and it stops. So I think that might be the reason why some people say that Mayota actually keeps, you know, winding up your watch more consistently than Seiko. And I think I can believe that. It just feels like the movement and the rotor has a easier time spinning around. And, you know, that of course translates to better winding of your mechanical, you know, watch mechanism. On the other hand, a Mayota watch runs completely silently, just as far as, you know, just your second hand moving, while Seiko actually ticks. So it has that ticking sound, and that's pretty cool. It's not a big deal though, because it's really hard to hear. You only really hear it if you put it next to your ear. Let me try to demonstrate here. Okay, so it's cool to actually hear your watch tick, but it's not something you're going to hear often. Mayota movement does not tick at all. There's just complete silence. I couldn't hear anything besides the sound of the rotor spinning, which you're not going to hear in your normal day-to-day operation. You're not going to be shaking your watch violently and listening for it. Also, as far as the bracelet, this one here actually is a little bit noisier, and I don't mind that. You know, it's fine. I don't really notice. This one makes some sounds as you move too. I think I know why the 30091 model feels slightly lighter. I think it's most likely because of the bracelet. This chain links inside, they're actually hollow inside. They're you know, so they don't have much weight to them. Let's see if I can focus there. So that's probably why some weight saving where it's coming from, versus this bracelet here that is like solid stainless steel, so it feels a little bit heavier. That does make this bracelet feel a little bit cheaper in a way, you know, but I feel like it's still a very good quality bracelet. When I was resizing yesterday, I didn't have any complaints. Everything felt great, and the clasp actually does feel a little bit better on the 30091 model here. So just a couple of small observations that I noticed over the last few hours of me using this watch that I figured I'll add as a quick update to this video.